I'd like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, April 5th, 2021. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll do roll call. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Present.
Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward is present. Let the minutes reflect Chief Gaddis, Ted Keefitt, Attorney Bray, Administrator Rich, and Megan Jordan are also in. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, March 15th, 2021.
So move.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor DeWall. Any discussion? I would like to add 6I, the proclamation that I passed out in front of you regarding the girls hockey team, the Mirage. And 6J, I got an email right before the meeting here regarding the fireworks for Hoghead that we need to discuss. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion passes. This time we'll take comments and suggestions from the citizens watching. If you got any comments or suggestions, please feel free to dial 218-628-6289, and we'll give that a few minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? I would like to pull 5C and 5D from the consent agenda. Five C and 5D. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 5C, committee and commission application appointment discussion. Just curious, Administrator Rich, where we're at with that.
So Mayor, we left it was open for council to get back comments and suggestions. And I believe Councilor Benson had submitted us several of them, and I just haven't gotten around back to getting the comments back on the document.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on. 4D, 4M fund. In your packet, there was some more information regarding the 4M fund and the recommendation from Leslie regarding investing into a new 4M fund. So I guess we're just looking for a motion to approve her recommendation allocating monies.
So move.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. bring us to 6A, City of Floodwood Police Services Contract Proposal. In your packet, there was an agreement between the City of Floodwood and the City of Proctor for services from our police department. Just looking for a motion to approve that contract.
So move.
Counselor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
For discussion purposes, I'll make it a second.
Counselor Johnson seconds that for discussion. Is there any discussion?
I would like to know the time frame. Is it a month? Is it a year? Is it?
I'll defer questions to Chief Gatus.
I wish I could answer that for you, but I don't know how long it's going to take. I know that they're in the process of still hiring a chief up there, and hopefully they get some applicants and they can move forward in hiring a police chief.
I'm just concerned myself with us going through the hiring process right now of a new officer or two, and how is that going to affect that process with the Floodwood?
It isn't going to affect it because there's 2 other officers that can do backgrounds right now. Our applicants have picked up their background packets and are in the process of filling that out. And 2 other officers can work on the backgrounds when we get those back in for our department.
And how long does the background stuff take?
It depends. If it's an entry-level officer, it might take a little bit longer. If they're younger, they don't have as much life history. If they're older, going through different jobs and verifying their job and military experience and or education, it can take a little while. But usually you're looking at approximately, about 40 hours on just one applicant.
Okay, thank you.
I had a few questions, Chief Gatus. Was this ran by the Civil Service Commission?
They know about it, yes.
Do they have a recommendation on any of it?
Since when they had our joint, they wanted to sit there and proceed with this, yes.
Okay. Second question I have is, I know I talked with Administrator Rich prior to the meeting, but as far as overtime, say we have to send yourself or another officer up there and it creates overtime back here for another officer. Could we add language to this agreement where Floodwood would cover any foreseeable overtime that takes place?
If one of our officers had to go up there,
Well, to cover a shift back here, say something happened up there, ran a little late, we had to call in an officer early, or one had to stay late, that created overtime for the city.
anything that would cause, like my time up there, an officer's time up there, the city of Floodwood would be billed for that. That answer that?
It would be covering the officer's time that's up there, but what if it created overtime back here in Proctor with a different officer?
Well, as at this time period, we wouldn't be scheduling any officer up there if it hindered something here.
But I think we all know that emergencies happen, that somebody could be 45 miles away, something happens back here where an officer has to stay late. I would just like to see that there's some coverage there for the city side, city of Proctor side, that overtime that's created because one of our officers is gone is picked up by the city of Floodwood.
Not to interrupt you, sorry.
Oh,
But yes, I believe that we've filled that out and covered that in here. If anything that I would sit there and say causes the city of Proctor overtime and it's caused by another entity as Floodwood, they would be responsible for that.
We can certainly add that as an addendum. Floodwood was aware that the Proctor City Council had to approve this first. They did go ahead and schedule a meeting to discuss it, a special meeting, but it was with the understanding that it first had to be approved or you may have some revisions. So we could add that as an amendment stating that if for any reason Proctor has caused overtime by duties performed in Floodwood, that Floodwood would be billed and paid for those services.
I would be more comfortable with that, thank you. And then back to my original question regarding Civil Service Commission. Since there is no recommendation, Attorney Bray, could we approve this upon recommendation from the Police Civil Service so they could have a meeting in the next few days? And
You could approve it contingent upon the recommendation.
And then we wouldn't have to meet again on this, it would just. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor?
I see in here that, as we agreed to, that we can get out of this agreement anytime we want. Can we, I'm in favor of us trying this. Can we set up like a 1-month trial, look at this again in a month and get a report as to how many hours he's spent up there and what's been happening, so we can kind of evaluate how it's affecting us and if it's something that we're okay with continuing?
I like that idea. Is that something we could?
Most definitely. Our whole goal when we're talking about this is that, money-wise or whatever, it's not going to hurt the city of Proctor in the budget. We want this to work out, but we also don't want to get hurt in our budget by helping someone else out.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Counselor Benson?
Here, Chief, in Section 3 in reimbursements, they talk about indirect costs. Could you explain what some of those indirect costs might be, other than we had talked about overtime and?
You're talking about Section 3?
Yes, for reimbursements. It just mentioned indirect costs.
Well, I would sit there and say that with the exhibit that you have in front of you, it talks about wages, it talks about the squad cars, right? And anything that even comes down to paper products and everything. If we're spending money, to print something out for the city of Floodwood, I guess that would be an indirect cost, like printing out a packet or whatever, we're using our supplies.
Thank you. And then in Section 5, they discuss the Proctor Police Chief shall report to the mayor of the city of Floodwood. And I'm uncomfortable with that because we're under a police commission guidance. And yeah, I'm concerned about putting a political person over the chief. So if we could discuss that.
I am reading that, Counselor Benson, that he will report to the mayor if there's reports of misconduct from a photo police officer.
I take it that thank you. Floodwood does not have a police commission. Do they have like a police committee, public safety committee?
I would sit there and say the person I'd be reporting to would be Corey up in Floodwood, the city clerk up there, and to the mayor of what's going on.
Okay, okay, bear with me as Section 7, fines. There is a comment about fines and forfeitures shall be paid to the treasurer of the city. And in the agreement, the city is not identified. I would think that if our chief got a fine, it should come to Proctor. But I believe the intent is that it goes to Floodwood, and I just wanted to make sure since there's no definition.
Well, can I answer that? So, like our fines here, if we write a ticket or make an arrest here, the fines and forfeitures would take place in the city of Proctor. And then they'll come back to that. If a Floodwood officer makes a stop and writes a fine for speeding or whatever, that fines go to Floodwood. On officers or deputies' ticket books, there's a special code on there, and the clerk of courts knows where those funds go to. That kind of answers your question.
We could further clarify it, excuse me, to say to the treasurer of the city in which the fine or offense occurred in. But it kind of does, the offense kind of addresses it in the first part of the sentence, but I would agree, we could clarify it that the fine is paid to the entity where the offense or the ticket originates from. It is in the system, however, to take care of itself that way intrinsically.
And then two more. One is under liability. When that liability, section 9, paragraph B, that the city of Floodwood shall not be liable for compensation to any Proctor employee injured arising out of employment with the city of Proctor. But does that also include Floodwood? Are they held harmless if, heavens forbid, there was a sickness, injury, or illness arising from work in Floodwood?
I'll defer that one to Mr. Bray.
Yeah, I think it would be. We're obligated to carry workers' comp on our own employees, whether we share them with other municipalities or not.
So what I'm hearing is that we share responsibility?
Well, no, they have to carry workers' comp insurance on their own employees. We have to carry workers' comp insurance on our own employees.
Yeah, I couldn't understand anything with
All right,
the plastic. And,
all right, I'll take it off.
Thank you.
We're obligated to carry workers' comp insurance on our own employees, whether they're hurt pursuant to working on an agreement with another municipality or not. They're obligated to carry workers' comp insurance on their own employees, is what I believe that to be saying.
So in other words, if Officer A gets hurt and becomes disabled for whatever degree up in Floodwood, we are on the hook. Floodwood is not.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to agree with my neighboring counselor about that monthly report. I already spoke with the chief about that, and I certainly endorse getting back with us with some sort of monthly update, incident activity report on what's going on. But that concludes my questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion?
Just one, without having seen any minutes or anything, I feel a little uncomfortable voting on this thing without running it through our police commission first. I feel like we might be overstepping. From the financial standpoint, that is our obligation, but from the oversight on any type of disciplinary or commendation or anything like that, that is the civil services responsibility. And I don't want to just keep kicking the can to the corner, but I just want it to be known I'd feel more comfortable if the Civil Service Commission would come up with a documented recommendation on what they see. Because they may have, we prove it the way it is, contingent upon that, what if they have all kinds of changes? We meet in 2 weeks.
I'm going to say one thing. The police commission did talk about this the day that we had the written tests when they had that going on.
Counselor DeWalt, you don't want to do what I was saying earlier, approve this if civil service approves it. Now, if they make a bunch of changes to it and approve it, obviously we'd like to revisit it, but if they approve this as is with the changes that we discussed today, would that suffice your needs as far as the recommendation from them, or would you like to revisit this 2 weeks from now?
I'd be okay with that. I just want to give them the opportunity to.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Benson.
The interim police chief in Floodwood is still on duty.
No.
Are they without a police chief?
Correct.
So how does that work with the state statute?
That's why the Minnesota Post Board kind of gave them, you know, hey, you better do something. And that's why they approached us to sit there and do it. And as long as the Post Board knows that they're in the process of obtaining a chief or trying to figure out someone to fill that role, i.e. Proctor, they're willing to work with the city.
So we could
With-
think that the post board has given Floodwood a grace period.
I can't answer that, but I know that the better, when you work with a state licensing agency, the more that you work with them, they're more willing to work with you. As long as they know that there's a process going on, they're willing to work with that entity.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, so I'd like to, who made that motion? So I guess, would we like to rescind those motions and seconds to reflect approval upon recommendation from Police Civil Service? Counselor Benson?
Yes.
Thank you. And who seconded that, Megan?
Johnson.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
So the motion has been rescinded. So we're looking for a motion now to approve the Floodwood police contract with the city of Proctor upon recommendation from Police Civil Service with no extra changes in what was discussed tonight.
And Mayor, may I, my notes reflect that you wanted language added that should the city of Proctor incur overtime expenses due to duties being performed in Floodwood, that Floodwood will pay for those overtime expenses.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think Counselor Benson just wanted that city of Floodwood language. Was there any other?
Mr. Reuter had
Oh, yeah, 1 month.
1 month to revisit.
So those three changes, I believe that was it. All right, so we're looking for that motion.
And I will renew the motion with those changes.
Thank you. Counselor Benson made the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That'll bring us to 6B, 2021 event approvals. In your packet, you had a list of some events that the Liquor Control and Public Safety Committees made recommendations on. Page 1 of that memo is the events with no contingencies. Page 2 would be the events with contingencies. So I'd look for a motion to approve the events with no contingencies from page 1, which would be the Powerhouse Bike Night, Powerhouse June Car Show, Hoghead Street Dance, Hoghead Festival, Powerhouse Friday Night Hoghead, St. Louis County Fair, Dirt Floor Arena, Legion Baseball Tournament, Rail Rumble Softball Tournament, Proctor Classic Baseball Tournament, Hill of 5K Race, Hoghead Fireworks, and Memorial Day Observance.
I'd make that motion.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Counselor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. And I want to see these events go out. You know, businesses, community has suffered without them. So I was just curious about, I noticed in one of the events consuming liquor on city property and on almost a weekly basis. So how does that work? Is that something allowable?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my concern during the Public Safety Committee meeting was the Powerhouse Bike Night as far as drinking or consuming alcohol on Fifth Street. I don't know if they do that or not. According to the map, it was just the parking lot property and the little bit of parking lot that the city owns. I don't believe it addressed actual Fifth Street, but I could be wrong. Does anyone recall that?
The what history?
My history may serve me wrong on that, but that, I thought it did not include consumption of alcohol on Fifth Street, just the parking lot. Do you recall?
I don't recall.
To my recollection, that's how I recall it.
Okay.
And that was all dependent upon the liquor license that was applied for and where they drew their lines. And if they drew their lines in that area, not on the street, but kind of 3 feet on city property or to the end of the pavement, they were covered. And that was fine, but it wasn't open bottles, so to speak, open container on the streets.
And that was my recollection as well. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Next, we'll look for a motion to approve the events with contingencies. That would be Speedway Media Day and Car Show, the LSRCC Summer Race Season 2021, Speedway Weekly Stock Car Racing, Monster Truck, Speedway Midsummer Night of Mayhem, and Speedway Silver 1000. And you can see on there that the contingencies of what those recommendations were based upon. Is there a motion to approve these events?
So moved.
Counselor Benson made a motion. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Johnson. Any discussion? I got one. The Speedway Media Day and Car Show, April 28th. It says contingent upon receipt of liability insurance coverage and liquor license. That was discussed at both meetings, liquor control and public safety. The liquor license, I don't believe, has any bearing since this event is held at the Powerhouse and they have the liquor license already. Am I correct on that, Administrator?
That's correct.
So if we could just remove that contingency on that event, I would be okay with it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 6C, Resolution 16-21, donation request. Counselor Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council. This request has come periodically before the City Council. It's what's known as a lawful donation. It's one of the few state statutes that identify Memorial Day observances, and 300, for Proctor it would be $300. It goes up for cities that are larger, but for us it would be $300. This is something that Proctor always used to do in the past. We stopped it, or the city stopped it years ago because the money went directly to the Proctor Band, and the Proctor Band wasn't showing up. So because of increased costs for ammunition, travel, the need for modern ceremonial weapons, flags, that this donation appears again before us. And this is $300 a year. So with that, make the recommendation to approve 1621.
Counselor Benson made a motion to approve Resolution 16-21. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing, Counselor Johnson.
Is this just for 2021, or is this going to be ongoing?
It will likely be ongoing. The Proctor American Legion did not, the Proctor American Legion did not put in a request last year because of the pandemic, and they didn't know what was going on. They still performed the observance, the ceremony outside City Hall as they did with all the other cemeteries in the area. So yes, it would probably come back again next year.
Thank you.
But it is up to, the commander of the Legion and the coordinator of the Memorial Day observance.
So then they would apply every year?
Yes.
Okay,
You would
got
get
it.
the same resolution.
Got it.
Or similar resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Bring us to 6D, Resolution 17-21, Never Surrender Inc. raffle request. In your packet was a request for a resolution of a non-objection issuance of State of Minnesota charitable gambling license to the Never Surrender, Inc. to conduct a raffle on February 2nd, 2022 at Blackwoods Event Center. Looking for a motion to approve this application.
So move.
Counselor Johnson made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6E, contract agreement. This is a contract between the Fair Board Association and the Lake Superior RCC, the remote control cars racetrack up at the fairgrounds. Looking for a motion to approve the contract. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6F, contract agreement between the Fair Board Association and the Dirt Floor Arena. Looking for a motion to approve the contract.
So move.
Counselor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6G, contract agreement between the Fair Board Association and the Racing Association. Looking for a motion to approve this contract.
I'll make that motion.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6H, Finance Director, Health and Welfare reopener. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. The negotiation committee met, and the finance director and the committee came to agreement, and this is the exact same terms that have been agreed upon for the other units and employees.
You heard the recommendation from the negotiating committee. Is there a motion to accept the changes to the finance director's agreement?
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Oh,
Counselor Benson.
So the percentages fall within the wage budget?
For 2021, yes, they do.
Okay.
For 2022's budgets have not been set yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6I, Proctor Hermantown Mirage Girls Hockey Proclamation. I threw on everyone's desk a proclamation I typed up earlier today, looking to declare Thursday, April 8th, 2021 as Proctor Hermantown Mirage Minnesota State Girls Hockey Champions Day in honor of the 2021 Proctor Hermantown Mirage State Championship and their perfect season. Looking for a motion to approve this.
So move.
Counselor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? If anyone wants to make or add changes to this, feel free to. I threw it together earlier today, and I know Mayor Boucher out in Hermantown is also presenting something similar to his council tonight, and hopefully we'll do this together. But that was the date him and I decided on, so if anyone would like something added, let me know. And
How will this, Ms. Mayor?
go ahead.
And how will it be presented to the school? Are the school planning any sort of?
Haven't officially determined that yet. I did talk to Athletic Director Wood on Saturday, and he said if we wanted to, we could read it outside the arena to the team. But I would like to collaborate with Hermantown Mayor and see if we can't do something together. So nothing is definitive yet. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6J, I received an email before the meeting tonight from Sally Headkey. asking about the Hoghead fireworks contract. It looks like the city has paid for this in the past, and will ask the chamber to share in the price. It looks like the city has paid $5,000 previous years out of the mayor's fund. Just looking for a motion to approve $5,000 to the Hawkhead fireworks contract.
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? Councilor Johnson seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. With that, it'll bring us to members' concerns. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. Next week, Sally Hedke and I are going to be making headway on presenting the recodification to you. So, you need me to speak up? Okay. Next week, Sally and staff and I are meeting to get the recodification book up to date and to get it to you. We hope to get this project off of our list. And that will be a big step into getting the code back online for the residents. I wanted to let you know that the puck position will be, Miss Tammy Arnold will be starting next week. So you're maybe welcome to come around at the end of the week to meet her once she gets established and settled, and meet her, or the week after perhaps. Work has begun on the restoration of the police officer, the chief and the sergeant's office from the flooding or the roof leak from years past. So we're hoping to get chief and his sergeant back in their offices. We recently entered into just a working agreement with St. Louis County Dispatch 911 to help us with our 911 addressing in Proctor. We've had there's several inquiries about building on vacant lots and new businesses, and 911 actually prefers that we go through them so we get the 911 addressing right and correct the first time. And the first one, we were able to sign a 911 address within 48 hours of the request. So it's going very well, and that's just something that St. Louis County GIS is willing to provide that service to us. Civic systems training for our new software is being scheduled for this summer, and it's a very intense scheduling, but we're getting on the schedule for June, July, and August. This week we received a complaint about a break-in on vacant-blighted property in Proctor, and with a quick action of the police department, Attorney Bray, the street department, we were able to secure the property, and we're going to bring forth I was able to obtain permission from the property owner to enter the property, to secure it so that we don't have a liability and someone get hurt, and to protect the neighborhood. And we're going to be working more closely with the property owner to get the blighted conditions resolved. And then finally this week, Rick and I will be obtaining our GIS training to learn how to find our city turn-offs, turn-ons, utilities through the GIS program that we went through with SEH. That's all I have for now.
Thank you for the update. Councilor Benson.
I don't think I have anything this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor? Councilor DeWall.
Couple things, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to see that property split on next agenda. Status of where it's at, property referenced on LMAC. There was a top third given, bottom third given, middle third easement. I'd like to know where that's at, because I thought it was done, and now I'm being told through the grapevine that it wasn't done. So I just want that to be on the agenda.
Why don't you give me a call tomorrow? I'll check on that. It should be done. They didn't ask for a map or anything like that, so it should be done.
I don't need it tomorrow, just so it's on the agenda.
All right.
And then the hotel property, That needs to be on the agenda, so we can start going through that as a council. Every year it gets brought up under audit, and we need to clean up our books. What I'm referring to would be the deal, and I don't know when it was struck, before my time, behind our liquor store. There was a deal and it wasn't followed through with, so I'm looking for that to be on the agenda as well. Third item, code book. Did planning and zoning have a chance to go through the drafted copy? And police have a chance to go through the drafted copy?
Those was given to the police. And one of the things when we bring the code back to you is we will be referencing changes in the code with Jay's book versus the new code.
So we're not looking for necessarily an approval on the code book, just this will be the first shot for council to see the new code book.
Correct.
Okay.
There'll be some process with it. There definitely so. Part of the danger in taking a new code and comparing it to the old code is the new code is brought up to statutes, and sometimes old codes aren't. So it'll have to be gone through very carefully. But the majority of it should be adopted what's recommended by the recodification company.
Anything further, Counselor?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson?
Congrats to the Mirage. I also want to thank our Proctor Police and Fire Department, Police and Fire Department, for being a part of a really cool welcome coming into Proctor and dropping off the girls on Saturday. It was really cool. The Proctor Golf Course opened. That was nice. And then Thursday, Administrator Rich and myself and Rick Lalonde and Jim Schwartzbauer are going to meet up at the train and see if we can work something out to get that thing cleaned up and looking a lot better than what it is right now. That's it.
Thank you. Counselor Reuter?
I don't really have anything new. I just like to reiterate what I talked about before the meeting started here, a little bit about what the COVID restrictions, lessening now. I'd like us to look at maybe going to 3-foot social distancing and maybe being able to allow some citizens to come to the meeting, not open to the public maybe, but if somebody's got something on the agenda, they can at least come in and we can talk to them face to face instead of trying to do everything over the phone. I haven't read the latest restrictions, so I'll leave that up to the administrator, but I think that we could do things a little different. But I'd like us to consider it anyway.
Thank you. And I got a lot of the same stuff, so to Counselor Reuter's point, I guess we should maybe add COVID to our next agenda regarding maybe employees and opening it up to the public or opening meetings up or social distancing, just a discussion for council to the next agenda. I'd like to get with Chief Gatus here in the next few weeks and schedule a blight ride along because it's getting that time of year, so let's address that soon. And like Counselor Johnson said, congratulations to the Proctor Hermantown Girls Mirage varsity team for winning state championship the last Saturday. So congrats to them. And thanks to the police and fire department. That welcome home was pretty cool. That's all I got. Attorney Bray.
I have nothing.
Nothing from you. All right. That being said, we'll look for a motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Mayor Ward. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.